call to order the July 12, 2010 meeting of East Ascension Drainage. Roll call, Madam Secretary. I think we have everybody here. Everybody would please let's stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. In the name of the Father, Son. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We ask that you watch over Louisiana, watch over Ascension Parish. As we're dealing with the Gulf oil crisis and economic despair with that, we also want to remember, please watch over us during hurricane season and take a closer look at Ascension Parish. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right now, I want to announce we have a public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak, please check in with the secretary and you'll be given time on that agenda item. Chair would welcome a nomination to accept the minutes of the June 7th, 2010 drainage meeting.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bell, second by Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries. On the chairman's report, basically what I want to do is I want to just bring up briefly that on during the hurricane season here, that I know that the administration has got OEP in place. Mr. Rue, we got everything tuned up for all our drainage projects, and we're ready to try to weather whatever we got in front of us. But I want to ask everybody to take a look around the districts and see what you see that you may need before we have a storm hit us. We've had I know that Bill and I've been having people out looking at the major stuff and trying to get some of the bottlenecks open and things like that. But let's all take a good look around our districts and try to take care of the folks. Next, we'll go into item number 6, the drainage report. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. Before you see my report, it's pretty straightforward. It explains just about everything that's major things going on in the drainage department. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rue? Yes.
I don't
Go
have
ahead,
a question,
Adrian.
but Mr. Rue, I spoke to you earlier about that project in the Darrow area down the Shell Road, like cleaning out those ditches and seeing we move forward and get that taken care of. Drainage does take care of that major off-road ditch, right?
Yes, sir. We're going to look at the status of the work order tomorrow. We are going to be doing some work on Conway in that area with the shredder. If it seems that that's the best route to go, we may move the shredder to that location, do some shredding along the ditch, and clean it out before we send it to Conway. But we will see where the status of the work order is in the morning.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Yes, Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Rue, on the capital improvement projects, the Henderson Bayou, see the timeline, signed the final design is in September. Is that due to some core issues, or we're supposed to make the final design, the sign in August next month?
Everything has been completed and the permits has been delivered to the Corps. Pretty much 60-day timeline on the Corps reviewing any kind of permits is fairly factual. We cannot, probably won't get any kind of answer from the Corps for 60 days. Therefore, we put the bidding in about September, the end of September, to start the bidding process.
What's the timetable on your bidding process, sir?
It takes about 4 to 6 weeks on the bidding process to advertise for bids and then receive the bids back. On something this size, that's just from the end of the bidding, advertising for bids. It'll probably be another maybe 30 to 60 days for review by the contractor because of the size project, both Henderson Bayou and Marvinboro Pump Station. since they're already in the millions of dollars, it'll take a little while for the contractor to work up their bid.
With the reviews that we had with the Corps, the meetings that we've had over the past about a year, or, and especially the past couple months, do we anticipate any snags with them at this time?
No. We have two things that we're trying to complete, and it's in my report, and that is the reforestation issue from prior conditions, for permit conditions, and the other thing is the as-built drawings. Both of them have been contracted out. The as-built has been delivered to the Corps of Engineers. We don't see a problem with that. And that's on reforestation. On the as-built, they should be completed within a week and a half and delivered to the Corps.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I just-
Cut you off.
No problem. Thanks. I just want to stress that, hey, look, as long as we don't see any more snags in this, September will be the signing date.
That's when we start the advertising for bids.
Right.
Hopefully, again, unless we see a snag from the Corps of Engineers, we don't anticipate any. But that'll be the minimum amount of time that it takes to get an answer back from the Corps of Engineers on a permit application.
Mr. President, you have anything you need to add to that, or
We are
I'm at the end of my rope with this?
currently working on a couple of things, and as Mr. Roos stated, one of them was from 2000, and the other was from 2003 or 2004. Some issues with the Corps that we had to go back and address. We think we have properly addressed those. We have sent all information to the Corps. The Corps is actually reviewing the permits while they were awaiting some of this information, so there shouldn't be any slowdown. But to hold you to exact date when dealing with the Corps is going to be a tough deal. We hopefully it's before the end of September, but I think Bill's being conservative here. But hopefully we can get that done and get this project off the ground. But again, it's just going back and rehashing and trying to answer some questions that were from years ago when nobody can remember what happened in 2001. It's kind of tough to go back and rehash all this stuff. But we are addressing everything, and it should be taken care of. From everything that I get and all the indications I get, this project should be online.
Thank you.
And just a quick comment on that, Dempsey, is the last meeting that we had with the Corps down there is that it was very positive. And should it come down to another meeting down there, we'd surely welcome you to come on in and join in on that. Yes, Mr. Shake Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tommy, the NRCS debris removal, what's...
The contractor is now in default. We are assessing liquidated damages. It's been for about, I guess, about 2 weeks now. We have Mr. Mike Enlow here with CDM if you want to question him. They're actually doing the monitoring. Do you have any more specific
Yeah, I
questions?
mean, specifically on Bayou Conway, where we're getting the hurricane season again, and I know we have some snags left on there.
Yeah, from the update I got from week ending July 10th, the contractor is 86% complete, and they're working every day to knock it off. We were given all indications as of 2 weeks ago they were going to be done on the completion date, which was June 28th, I believe, Bill. And yeah, they ceased to have met that date, so liquidated damages were.
And Mike, you have someone that goes out there and checks on the...
Yeah, we have an inspector. It's one inspector.
Okay, because I was just curious as to what's the remaining. I know we had gone out a couple of weeks ago, and...
What I plan on doing is, if this week, next week, getting an idea of how much is out there instead of just a percentage to report back to you guys. That way we can get some kind of concrete date that it's gonna be completed. But
I mean, it's making a tremendous difference what they're doing. I mean, it's fantastic what they're getting out. We just want to make sure it gets cleaned up.
We can give you the map. I can give you the locations on the map in the morning, really.
Mm-hmm.
So we have access to that. We know where they're at. And we also, with DPW and Drainage Board Drainage Department has personnel following it also.
Okay.
So
And,
if you wish, I can send that to you in the morning.
Okay.
The locations on the map, exactly what was done and then what's remaining.
That'd be great. And Parish President, since they did not include Panama in that, what do you have plans for that?
We are currently getting prices and working to see, getting estimates on what it's going to cost and how much we can do and where we're going to get the funds from, and how we're going to arrive at that. So Mr. Rue and I are working on that. Should have some answer for you, hopefully in the near future,
Okay.
like this week.
Yeah, I'll have some pictures and things for you this week too on that. I'd like to, a meeting maybe at the beginning of next week or something like that if we can to see where we're gonna head. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chicks. Now, I just real quick want to remind everybody, it's been a very frustrating path for everybody. I think Kent was one of the first ones that had mentioned early on in the process, man, just take the money, let's go do it ourselves. We're trying to do the best due diligence with the people's money. But we are not, we have an extension from the NRCS that we're not gonna, we're gonna make that deadline easily. The only fear is that we have a storm and we still got closures. Yes, Mr. Cullen.
Yeah, can we get the same thing on New River too, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll send out the map on, all the maps to indicate exactly what was done on all the 4 projects.
All right. Thank you.
Also, if I know we've done it in the past, but every now and then set up a boat ride. I mean, if Kent, I know you've been involved in it, Todd, a couple of guys over here, several of y'all, that if there comes a time when you got a day that you can swing, you're not working, and you can set up and take a run down whichever canal you're interested in, and just take a look at it, witness it. That's about the only way to see it good from the water.
Yeah, I'll bring you down New River if you want.
Yeah, that's good.
Bring your life jacket, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yes, sir, Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Bill, I see a Bird Allen ditch, 100%. Is that just from Roddy Road to the Bird Allen Road is what I'm seeing? We still have some lower end work that was waiting on permits the last time I asked this.
The
Question.
project that we started on Bird Island is 100% complete. We removed all the spoil, with the exception of 2 things, and the digging is complete. We have to go back and replace some bridges.
Still got to do the bridges. Okay, I
Gotta do
thought that
some
was part
bridges.
of the percentage that wasn't complete.
But we talking about is just the digging part of what we started. Now, we have
Okay.
2, again, the bridges is one issue. The other issue is the remaining portion from Bird Island Road to Black Bayou, and that's a
621 or Black
permit
Bayou.
issue that we have to go
Okay.
through.
So we're still
And they're
waiting
working on that. We should be submitting the permit application shortly
Okay.
on getting the rest of that completed. The issue about the bridges has to do with money, and it wasn't appropriated in our budget for that. So we're looking and working with finance to do some budget amendment, through the budget amendment process, to add money to the drainage of Bird Island ditch, and also for the contracting of bridges, and also for the Panama and Conway cleaning. And that's one of the things that the president and I are working on, is that budget amendment.
So we have a lot of bottlenecks with these bridges that needs to be
Yes, it
taken
is.
care of.
We know we have to remove the bridges, dig out, and then replace the bridges as part of that's part of the right-of-way compensation agreement with the landowners. Again, they donating that increased right-of-way to us, and in return, we're replacing the bridges that were already there.
And this is just off-road bridges? no-
Off-road.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Bill.
That's right. It's a single time for them. We replace it one time and it's
That's
safe.
correct, yeah. Know the policy on that, yeah.
Thank
right.
you. All right, Todd. Yes, Mr. Adrian Thompson.
Yes, Bill, how much money is that we have left from the money we bonded, that we hadn't committed to a project?
Well, we don't have much of our project money for it. What kind of project are you talking about? The capital projects?
Well, we're talking about Panama and Conway. We're
Right.
gonna need some dollars to go in and start those projects.
We didn't put in for line item, again, because it came up this year. We only put in enough money to handle things that we knew we were gonna do. And this is I think it's a proper way of doing it. The parish president said, let's not overload the budget with things that we don't know. We come up with a project, we'll come to the board and ask for a budget amendment to add money to it to do a specific project. And that's what we're trying to do on this.
Well, with Astro Land in the back of Pelican Point in that area, with all the flooding that's starting to occur in that area, we have a bottleneck somewhere. And I think we need to go out and take a look at that.
We have already surveyed that whole area from the airport all the way down. And we have identified some bottlenecks, and that's why we're trying to get an outside contractor to mobilize to free most of the bayou up from debris, because they can do it a lot faster than our own forces. Again, it's a budget process that we're working through. And we have a fund balance, and we can pull that money that we need for these special projects. But again, we're doing it on a case-by-case basis and through the amendment process.
So with doing that project, that's gonna help the Astroland area and all that water backing up
It
in that
will help
subdivision
them.
that's causing the problem back
It will,
there?
yes, sir, it will help them. We have identified a few other things that actually need to go in and do some, I guess, modification of the channel itself. But removing the debris is the number one thing we need to do.
One other thing.
Go ahead.
We got BKI and GSA. They're working on Panama and Conway. What's the last update we got from them?
They are continuing to work on that project. I think if Bert Kleinpeter or Jake wants to answer a few questions on these here, he can.
And what he's referring to is the Panama and Conway study that we have partnered with Pontchartrain and Levee District, and they have contracted you guys for that study.
Yes, sir. We're, as you all are familiar with, we're working on a comprehensive study of Bayou Conway and the Panama Canal. We're nearing the end of all the modeling for this thing, and we're going to start putting together some proposed conditions improvements. Basically, it's going to include snagging of all the channels and a good bit of channel improvements, widening. But we've also discovered recently, we went out there and we did some survey work, and we also looked at one of the major problems we've seen is all of that stuff has to drain underneath the railroad tracks and then under Airline Highway. And there originally is 3 or 4 crossings for that, but all of them except for one has really silted up. So we've lost a lot of our capacity on the bottom end of this whole system. That's going to be one of the proposals we'll be making in our report. Like I said, we're wrapping up the modeling of all of this, and we're going to have to put together some cost estimates and some of the other documentation to prepare to report back to you guys, and also the Pontchartrain Levee District.
Yeah, we know we have some heavy silting down below Sorrento there.
Yes, sir.
That was over a year ago we went ride that. And
Yes, sir.
the railroad tracks is nothing that we've been able to politically do anything with. It's flat and low.
Right.
So,
But we know.
just got through an engineered process is get that channel to where it can move through it, and I'm sure that's what you're working on.
Well, and what they have, like we said, we know there are 3 or 4 existing openings under the railroad, Airline Highway, that in the past have worked, and over the years they've silted up. So we really are going to, one of the main recommendations is go in and clean those channels out so that water can start, moving on out of there. The other aspect of this project that we're looking at in cooperation with the West Shore Protection Levee, that's kind of a big picture thing that BKI is actually heading up that project, is we're trying to investigate, while we're doing the study, we want to look at what's going to happen if that levee is built or when it's built, because, while we're doing the study, let's go ahead and include what would happen in the future as well. So that's another aspect of this thing that we're looking at as well.
And I would think that with that being integrated in the West Shore project, which covers about 4 parishes, that we would, the end result would end up as some type of pumping station or something there.
That's the thought
or
right now.
a gate at minimum
it will definitely be some type of control structure. We're working on a couple different scenarios, also based on some different design conditions that we're going to be looking at. I have some photographs here that Councilman Shakespeare had asked me to provide, but we took a boat trip back in middle of May, I think it was, and to really get a good sense of where we were having problems with debris in the bayou and other areas where we see in bottlenecks. So those types of trips, as y'all were speaking of earlier, are really beneficial to get out there and see what's physically happening. You know, we can use all these remote methods, images, and all that, but unless you get out there, it's really, really good to see what's happening. So I'm gonna provide these to Councilman Shakespeare, but if y'all want copies, by all means, I can get you that. Be happy to discuss, you know, whatever you guys want to talk about, if you have any questions other than that.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
I just want to know, should be coming up soon is the hydraulic model for the Laurel Ridge area.
Yes, sir.
When
We're
is that
working on
going to be
Next
complete?
couple months. The guy that was working on the modeling for us for that project actually switched firms, and we recontracted him, and so that we didn't lose the ground we had already made on that project. But in the next couple months, we hope to have a completed report. We'll present that to the Pontchartrain Levee District, but also to you guys as well. So,
All right, I appreciate it.
sure.
Thank you.
Also, just go back, the parish is in a little bit of a catch-22 on this. We know we got some things we need to do to Conway and Panama, and we are gonna go in there and try to do some, but then we also, on the other hand, because of the report and the participation by the Pontchartrain Levee District, if we wait for the report to come out, it's a better chance to get maybe some kind of cost sharing with the Pontchartrain Levee District to do some improvements. But we realize we can't wait that long, so that's why we're looking at going in there and doing some snagging immediately, and maybe it's more extensive work once the report is completed and we petition the Pontchartrain Levee District to help us on some of it, the more expensive work.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that we've got a pretty good Ascension Parish delegation in with the Pontchartrain Levee District and even their administration. The guys they're out there lending us a hand. We
Yeah,
just got to work with them, and you know, some of this stuff takes a little bit longer. But I agree with Councilman Shakespeare on some of the things, his concerns, and Councilman Thompson, because when we take the boat rides, we get in places that are silted that we in a bateau with a 20 Evinrude or whatever, you know, 50 Evinrude. We pumping mud, you know.
Yes, sir.
And,
You know, we communicate with a lot of the guys on the Pontchartrain Levee District on a, if not monthly, weekly basis. But just for your information, you know, those guys are really eager to help. You know, a lot in the past, a lot of the money's been spent in other areas, and now they're really trying to start focusing on this, you know, St. James Ascension parishes, and they were very eager to work with you guys. So just leaving that out there. If y'all want to communicate with them, they, you know, by all means are interested.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. President.
And while I got you up there, Jake, how are we progressing with the Alligator Bayou study? And
Yes, sir.
I know you,
that-
I don't know if you can speak, but you know, that's something that we've been waiting on and waiting on and waiting on, and
I'll
seems
touch
like-
on it briefly. Actually, you know, Shaw is the prime on the project, but as far as I know, the report is due to come out very soon. The holdup, as I can appreciate it, was they had some regulations within the Corps as to how the real estate acquisitions and the gross appraisal report had to be filed. So they had to hire another appraiser and work some of those issues out. But I'm not comfortable in giving all those. I don't know all of them. So.
You got a time frame you think soon?
I would suspect in the next month or two.
One quick question.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Jake.
Mr. Todd Lambert.
We talked, Randy brought a little bit up on the rail that crosses into Panama and Conway. Is there any way we're going to be able to raise that for us getting any boats underneath it? Because, when the water's a certain level, there's no way of crossing underneath it.
As for our particular
That's none of y'all's
study
scope?
that we're
Yes.
doing, we are really just focusing on the drainage aspect of it.
Okay.
If that is something that needs to be considered, I'm sure at some point in time we can, really get into that and look at it. But right now, that's not the primary focus that we're looking at.
Because like
And
Randy
it-
said, when
they
you
are very
have when you
low.
have some flooding, it is a bottleneck because the canal is going to hit right the bank of the.
Yes, sir.
Well,
The
it
rail.
acts like a screen, and
real
the
close to
water's
that when
almost
we ru-
at.
Yeah.
I tell you what, and Councilman Lambert, but that's something that we need to probably get together and.
We could put red on that.
I've not had a lot of great luck dealing with the railroad, but I've had as much luck dealing with them as the Corps of Engineers, and sometimes they can be reasonable. And, so that's something that we can take as a sidebar and try to see if there's a possibility. I don't know if y'all tried in the past, but I mean, we can go forward and petition to see if we can get that raised. I don't know what their budget is, and I don't know. The engineering on railroads is a very, very small slope, so you're talking about a lot of real estate to move up 2 feet, okay?
Yes,
I want everybody to know that. It's not like a bridge you just hump over.
Well,
So-
It's just the issue that when you get there with a boat, you stop. You
Oh,
turn around. You're not going through.
the low
We got under
chord on
one day.
those crossings are almost make it where it's non-navigable
Oh, yeah.
for approaching from the south,
Right.
from the downstream end. We went through on a little stump jumper, and man, we barely made
you
it.
fought it.
We had to really.
I was
Climb
with Kent when we went
across
through
through
a couple of them.
Yes, Mr. Shake Snyder.
And I think what Jake was talking about, what we found out after going down there are actually 3 crossings. And with the slim chance that the railroad would ever raise it. But what we did find is that there are 2 other crossings that are available. One was the old Panama route. And what happened is it went across the airline, and then as it went on the major airline ditch, some people had put some crossings there with just some small culverts. So that slowed the flow down, and it all silted in, and trees were growing in it. So in lieu of having to fight the railroad, we can actually clear the existing ones that are there and let it clear out all the way through to the
And divert it.
cross drainage, and it'll get across Airline Highway and everything. So, and I think his study will end up showing that. It was pretty obvious when we went out there, and we actually went to all the crossings.
We had to get to some of them by truck because we couldn't go down them in the boat. So. But another thing about those low cards on the crossings is they, like y'all said earlier, is they end up trapping debris, and that once again causes a lot of conveyance problems for you. So, but we're taking all those into consideration, and also, as y'all are well aware, that anytime we do anything, it's going to come down to wetland costs and impacts that are incurred. So we're trying to keep some of those things in consideration as well.
Thank you, Jake.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Lambert, Mr. Rule, capital projects? I just want to reemphasize to everybody that every project that we talked about, okay, and some of them that are not new projects, some of them are dredging, cleaning out, everything we do, we end up in front of the Corps of Engineers, all right? And some of you guys have a lot more years of fooling with them than I do. I only have, about 10 or so. And it's just a process we got to go through. And I want to thank the parish president on some of his intervention with those folks and the patience, and that, we just got to try to move it through. I think by the first of this year, we ought to be pretty well squared up with the Corps of Engineers on most everything we got. All right. Let's, any other on the drainage? Mr. Rule, real quick on that Vincent Tripp ditch, clean out the spoils. How's that going? I see we're at 45%, but how's
It's
it
slow,
going?
real slow because of the rain we've been having. With the off-road vehicle, we have been able to do some, but not as much as when it's dry, obviously when it's dry. It looks like it'll be a good week this week, and we already got started back on it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I know
depending on the weather.
I know we have some value for the landowners there that we, that's why the weather's hampering us. We got to keep it like we want it. Any other questions on drainage report? Now we'll move on to item number 7, Department Engineering. task order number 1, environmental permitting master plan. Mr. Rue.
We asking for authorization for task order number 1 as per the retainer contract 2010 to Hortman Engineering for environmental permitting master plan at a cost not to exceed $47,500.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, a second by Mr. Pat Bell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. With that, we'll move on to item number 8. Paul Amendola Construction, the Gonzales Bulkhead, substantial completion. Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir. We're asking for acceptance of the bulkhead on Bayou Francois located near City Hall, City of Gonzales, constructed by Lamador Construction, as substantially complete as of June 21st, 2010.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Cullen, second by Mr. Shakespeare. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Before we move on to item number 9 and adjourn, I'd just like to let everybody know that we got some council members who will be leaving out. We got a convention going, and that if I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have a lot of people still in town to cover everything. And so, once again, I want to stress to everybody, let's take a look at the hurricane preparedness. We've got a real good chance of a hurricane hitting us this year, according to all reports.
Motion adjourned, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Todd Lambert. I need a second. Second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.